Is when the BMW is run, and also the Golden Slipper Stakes at Rose Hill. Bint Masquet, Mick Dittman, Lee Friedman, captive edition with the big stars yesterday. Keith Hillier went to the races at Rose Hill, the lucky devil. What a meeting it was. He joins Max Presnell today. Gentlemen, it's a little bit like, well, I was going to say Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis, the two current world heavyweight champions. A bit more like George Foreman and Larry Holmes, seeing you two together. Two ageing stars. How are you?
Yeah, might I say Keith Hillier is Foreman.
Bruce, Max hasn't changed. We tossed before to see who would buy lunch today. I won, but now he's claiming best of three.
Oh, best of three. Well, as long as you've got enough coins in your pocket, Keith, keep tossing the coins. About 3 weeks ago, Lee Friedman spoke to me at the races. We were having a chat when he was saddling up Coolong Road at Flemington. He was very excited about Bint Masquet. He said, this is a really special filly. He's a great judge, isn't he? Because not only was he right about her, he kept faith with her after that defeat to Rock Review when she was about 5-2 on.
Yeah, what's your answer?
Yeah, so Lee certainly kept faith with Bint Masquet, but a special word of praise to Anthony Friedman, who basically has trained this horse and who did originally have faith. Anthony said to Lee, I think we've got a Golden Slipper horse here. It looked an impossibly short preparation. Lee said, go to it, do it, and Anthony did do it. And Lee paid tribute to Anthony at the presentation yesterday. So it was a great effort by all, but certainly the Golden Slipper again was marred by savage interference. This is not the way for Sydney racing or Australian racing to go. If I see another story about jockeys being warned in big races that they've got to take care, I don't know what I'll do. But obviously they don't take care. That's the way it is. They raced too tight yesterday. Horses like Justice Prevailed, Danger were knocked out of the race. I don't think that's the way for a $2 million race like the Golden Slipper to end.
Do we restrict the field then? You can imagine owners and trainers desperately wanting to get their horses. Do we restrict it from 16 down to 12, considering that Rose Hill is a tight track?
I don't think that's a bad suggestion. I think it should be examined.
Every year, Max,
it should be examined. But a horse like Rock Review was so savagely injured that there's a possibility that she may never race again. Of course, these things she may have pulled up all right this morning, better than was expected yesterday afternoon. But the future looked grim for Rock Review. Now, why should a horse come out of a race like that?
Winning jockey Mick Dittman was charged by stewards for careless riding in the race, Bruce, but he beat his own rap. He talked his way out of it, and no one was charged after the interference. The most asked question after Golden Slipper yesterday was how far should Justice Prevails have won by? Well, I don't know the answer to that. No one does, but the answer will go on record that Bint Masquet won by 2 3/4 lengths, and so she should have. Do you?
Yeah, no, I want to back Bint Masquet in a return bout against Justice Prevails, but I do think that Justice Prevails put up an outstanding performance. It would be a very good contest, and as I said before, races shouldn't end like that. A horse like Justice Prevails deserves a better go. So does Bint Masquet, to show that she is the best horse in the field. Dittman, incidentally, underwent the most thorough scrutiny. They were out to get him because he was on the outside. The stewards questioned, they looked at the film, they've got every aid available. But Dittman was not guilty, so that's the way it was. The guilty parties were perhaps all the jockeys who just ride too tight.
Well, the stakes are high. I think the interesting thing, Keith, that's come out of this is that we were saying it was an ordinary year for two-year-olds, and suddenly we've got two very good ones in Bint Masquet and Justice Prevails. Yes. They could be outstanding.
Well, I think so, Bruce. We won't see Bint Masquet again this campaign, but she did it the hard way. She started from a wide alley. She had to show early speed. She was eased mid-race. Then she had to show courage and stamina at the end of the race. I think she's very good, and I think that she deserved to win the Slipper, and I don't subscribe to the hard luck stories for Justice Prevails.
Yeah, Keith, but she was out of trouble out wide. Justice Prevails was nearly decked. Rock Review was striking interference. Danger was striking interference. Keltrice, they were all in trouble while she was high-rolling it out wide. I'm not taking anything away from her. I think she's a terrific filly. But I would have liked, and I hope to see, better, fairer run races in future.
Well, maybe the barrier draw in a way was a blessing in disguise, because if you've got pace, you can overcome an outside draw. Let's go and have a look at the full running of the Golden Slipper.
And they're all set. Stalls open, they're away in the Golden Slipper. There's a great start. And Bint Masqué on the extreme outside is about the first out. Jet Ball and Moss Rocket began brilliantly with Rose's Image and Gem of the West. Rock Review is away quickly. The rider trying to get in closer, followed by Sportsworks, and back midfield when they settle. Star of Nouvelle. Keltrice on the fence, racing a little fiercely in the early stages. Rock Review is now dropping back to be midfield. A gap then to Land Speed Record from LA Glen. A mile back, Pride of Rancho, followed by Capablanca. Danger Can't Go. He's back third last on the fence, followed by Fitting, and Justice Prevails as absolute last. To the turn, 500 to go. Moss Rocket has taken to the lead. Bint Masqué second, Rose's Image third, followed by Keltrice. Jet Ball can't get on the track, and then Sportsworks and Gem of the West, and well back Star of Nouvelle, followed by Rock Review and Capablanca. Danger's in front of about 3, and Justice Prevails as last. Moss Rocket is in front at the 300. Bint Masqué the first to go after him. They're a mile in front of Keltrice and Rose's Image, followed by Jet Ball, but it's Bint Masqué. Mighty Mick drives the filly to the lead, Bint Masqué, and she is straighting them. Look at her go. Bint Masqué coming away to record a brilliant slipper win. Justice Prevails down the outside has come from last to get second.
Yes, a great win, a mighty second by Justice Prevails. After the race, Keith Hillier caught up with Mick Dittman and he asked him, this was his third Golden Slipper win, was it the sweetest?
Well, it was certainly equal to the other two, but when they come from outside barrier like that, that's a task in itself, and she had to, you know, show brilliant speed to get across, and she did that, and she got into a beautiful position. She had the rest in the middle stages, and she did that. And then she had to kick strong at the finish, so, you know, they've got to have quality to be able to do that.
When you exploded clear, did you wonder whether there was something left, Mick?
Oh, well, when I gave a full ball with about a furlong to go, you know, I had my doubts whether anything could come over the top of me, unless I weakened badly. And, like, was well inside the furlong, I was still going pretty quick, and I knew they couldn't get me.
Keith also spoke with Lee Friedman. Lee's had great faith in this horse. He told me that day that if she gets to the post, she'll win the slipper. He'd had a few little problems with her, but Keith asked Lee whether he expected Bint Masqué to produce this sort of a run.
It's magic quality, that to come from that barrier, sit on the lead, and then just boot clear. I mean,
a new race record, is she something very special?
Yeah, I think she'll be, you know, an absolutely outstanding filly. I mean, she is already, but I mean, at 3, you know, with a pedigree, she should train on and make a Guineas Oaks filly too.
Will she race again this autumn?
No, she's going straight to paddock.
Lee, Cox Plate, Caulfield Cup, Melbourne Cup, now the Golden Slipper. What's left?
There's a steeplechase in the middle of the year.
Don't you love him? What a personality that man is. He's also a good judge because he reckoned that Viander Cross wasn't going all that well after he won the Ranvet Stakes, and how right he was. We sort of didn't laugh at him, Keith and Max, that day, but we thought this is a strange one. Remember the Scalacci Manicato one? He produced it again with Viander Cross. He said a 3-year-old could beat this horse, and he was right. He
was indeed, and a very smart 3-year-old beat him, Captive Edition. Bruce says a decent wrangle going on as to who will ride Captive Edition in the Derby. He was ridden yesterday by Mick Dittman, bringing off the Rich Double. But Greg Hall, in a conversation with me this morning, said he will fight to the finish to retain the Derby ride on Captive Edition because he has been engaged. He doesn't even want to entertain a 5% fee for sitting in the grandstand. He said he knocked back 3 rides and he'll take this all the way.
And what's Mick's attitude at the moment? Is he going to try and hang on to the ride?
Well, of course he will, and Greg and Mick are great friends, and Greg said this is a business problem, not a friendship meddling problem.
Max, what about Viander Cross? What do we make from his run yesterday?
Oh, that wasn't the real Viander Cross yesterday. Certainly the one that beat Naturalism is much better. Viander Cross had an off day. I don't know where he's going in future. Chris Turner said that there was only a 25% chance anyway of him running in the Sydney Cup. It would depend on how he pulled up, but Rough Habit ran a remarkable race yesterday too, so Rough Habit is well worth following. Captive Edition, very good win, but I don't know whether he can beat Slight Chance in the Derby.
Well, we'll find out in a moment. Just before we have a look at this race, is this ridiculous to suggest that Viander Cross, and let's not knock him on one run, is a top-class horse on a firm track but is a champion when the sting's out of the ground? I reckon he's better when there's some sting out.
Worth some thought, for sure, Bruce. Yesterday, Viander Cross lost his gloss, there's nothing surer. So racing is without a champion today.
You sacked him one run. He's without a champion again. You're giving up after one run.
Let me finish. I say we might have one next Saturday when Naturalism and Scalacci clash in the for the stable too in the Doncaster Handicap, along with Durbridge and Mannerism.
OK, let's go and have a look at the BMW. Captive Edition winning, Viander Cross 5-2 on favourite.
A length and a half to Raising Kentucky on the inside of Blue Rustina, going by the 1,000-metre pole, and then Dr. Grace, who's a fair way back in the field, followed by Takeshi, and the last couple are Rough Habit and Mercator to the 800 mark, and Mahia's got them flat chat, led by 2 to Tiakau Nick, a length to Captive Edition, a length to Kingston Bay, under pressure now. Here comes the big V. Viander Cross is starting to make up ground very quickly as they near the home turn, followed by Sub-Zero strung up on the fence. Then Raising Kentucky and Blue Rustina, Dr. Grace under heavy pressure, followed by Rough Habit, Takeshi and Mercator last as they come around the turn. This beautiful filly with the big white blaze, Mahia, straightens up in front in the BMW. Captive Edition the first to go after her, and Viander Cross is struggling a bit. He's starting to wind up now on the outside, but he's giving these 3-year-olds a bit of a start. Captive Edition shot to the front from Mahia, Viander Cross, and old Rough Habit down the outside. He's gone past Viander Cross. Captive Edition is well clear. Rough Habit is charging home in the last bit, but Captive Edition is holding on. He'll win. Captive Edition beat Rough Habit. Viander Cross third, every possible hope.
And Max caught up with Chris Turner, the owner and the man who trains Viander Cross in New Zealand. And this is what Chris had to say when Max asked whether he was disappointed.
I thought he ran quite well. I thought he actually would have won the race today. He was primed for it. It looks like he came to the end of it about 50 metres out, but we're very proud of the horse, and I think he's never been out of a place yet. Jimmy said he pulled a little bit at the start, and maybe we would have been better just riding back a little bit and let him flop along. They did set a course record today, and all credit to the winner. I think the winner thoroughly deserved to win today, and so Viander Cross, we'll still be up there and at them next time.
It's interesting, isn't it, what perspective you're coming from. A man who loves his horse and hasn't given up on him. And the punters that took 5 to 2 on, well, they might think differently. Let's have a look at the Ansett Australia Stake. We're going to talk over this gentleman. Slight chance winning this race. Orsay was in second place at the moment. Slight chance in a bit of an awkward spot with Burst up in front of her. Max, you're wrapped in her from a Derby point of view. She's got the white blaze, she's travelling in the green colours, and she's going all right.
I think she's got a good Derby chance, Bruce. If it's a sprint home, I think she'll win. If it's a slogging, grinding, staying test, well, perhaps a horse like Captive Edition could get lucky. But she possesses an outstanding burst, as you're going to see here, and she did have scope for improvement in this run. Bobby Thompson, the trainer, said that she pulled a little bit harder early. She blew up after the race, so there is improvement there. Now, you can have Shane Dye's having a look at Mick on Burst, and he said, well, I've got you beat now. He's just easing her down now. She is a super filly, and she is going to be very, very hard to beat next Saturday.
Dye claimed he could have won by 3, even 4 lengths, Max.
Yes, well, Shane is prone to making claims. I'd be very satisfied, you know, if she could have found another half a length, but she is a very good filly, Keith.
OK, it looks a filly and a colt clashing in the Derby, Captive Edition and Slight Chance. One of the pair will win in my book, Max.
Yes, well, I don't want to go off for this early,
Okay,
Keith,
Max,
because,
sit on the fence.
yeah, no, really... I'd hate to tip a scratching.
All right.
Well, you did the right thing, Max, because you did pick Bint Masco to win the Golden Slipper, and you did wait for that. 12 months, a long time in racing, isn't it? Burst won the Golden Slipper on that day 12 months ago and was considered the outstanding filly. Now has had her colours lowered. Here's the anniversary stakes. Keith, Soho Square, you've seen a fair bit of this fellow. He looked to be pretty impressive, just running Durbridge down. What sort of a Doncaster trial do you think from the first 2 in this?
Well, it was excellent from both. That's Durbridge getting to the front now in the pinky purple colours, and Soho Square coming at him in the blue cap and yellow. Stephen King, who rode Durbridge, was suspended for causing interference in this, Bruce, until April 19. He will appeal, I believe, and will probably be given a stay of proceedings to ride in the Doncaster. But that was a good trial by Soho Square. He won the race as a 3-year-old last year and he's on track again, Max.
Not flash, but good. Soho Square is such an outstanding Randwick miler. He's going to be very hard to beat in the Doncaster. At first, I thought he should have done more than he did yesterday, but he was running down Durbridge, who was a pretty good racehorse. No, I think he's up there as a top Doncaster chance.
A Doncaster shot yet, or reserve your judgment still, Max?
Well, I said about 3 weeks ago I would be on naturalism whether he contested the Japan Cup, the Arc de Triomphe or the Ramvet, and I am still a naturalism man.
Is he definitely running? He's definitely running on Saturday?
He's definitely running.
OK, great. Now, there's been an enormous story here today that the Grand National Steeplechase, the most famous event in British racing, well, I guess with the English Derby, has been declared null and void. There were 2 false starts. On the second false start, a number of the horses completed the course. They waved protest flags, but the stewards, to try and stop them, they were unable to stop the jockeys. In a race that had over $160 million bet on it, a worldwide audience of 350 million has been declared null and void and probably won't be run this year. It's a disaster for British racing. Let's take this report that's come in just a few minutes ago from the BBC.
As the horses lined up for the off, the starting tape appeared slack, and jockeys later said it seemed slow to go up. The tape entangled several riders. The starter immediately raised the red flag.
There was a sense of impending disaster as the horses came to the tape for the second time. Animal rights protesters had already caused a delay by claiming in a hoax call that they'd planted an incendiary device at Beecher's Brook. Furthermore, there'd already been 1 false start. But when starter Keith Brown, officiating at his last Grand National, tried for a second time, the tape snagged around the legs of several horses and the neck of one of the jockeys. The starter announced a second false start, but 30 of the 39 horses set off. The recall man, stationed 100 yards down the track, had failed to realise what was happening, didn't react, and the horses continued in a race that was void once they'd completed the first circuit. By then, total confusion.
And they're being waved past the chair. They're not going to jump it. It just, well, they are going to jump it. They can't believe it. High Street Land.
There was one further attempt to stop the horses. It was only partially successful. Fortunately, there'd been no casualties. The diminishing field completed a second circuit and attacked the famous long run-in as if it was truly the real thing. Amidst boos and catcalls, Echenesse was first past the post of the National that never was. It took only a few moments for jockey John White to realise the horrible truth. The starter first suggested that, according to Jockey Club rules, the race might be rerun with the 9 horses that didn't go.
See you in the courts. I never heard anything so stupid in my life.
That anger was reproduced elsewhere. As the mood around the course turned ugly, the starter had to be protected by police from assault. The starter's decision to recall the race for a second time is not the issue. He, the ground staff and a number of jockeys all took part in an inquiry after the race that, in all the confusion, could at least confirm one thing, that a 9-horse race would not be rerun on the day. But what are the prospects of restaging the race altogether?
This decision must be entirely up to the racecourse. I mean, putting on a day like this with, I don't know, 70,000 people here, shall we say, is an enormous undertaking. And whether the racecourse can do this again in a short space of time must be up to them.
And Aintree's view at the moment is that a 1993 Grand National has almost certainly been lost, though there is the remote possibility that it could be staged during the course's November meeting.
The Grand National is the most watched event on British television each year, bigger than the FA Cup, bigger than the Derby. And I think the thing that comes out of it, Keith and Max, and we've got to be brief here, is that they run under archaic conditions in Britain. They're way behind the times, and it really was a comedy of errors, right from the Strand at the start.
Like Keystone Cops, wasn't it? Bart Cummings once said they started 300 years before us. They've got themselves 100 years behind us.
Why not just declare the Grand National null and void?
What, full stop?
Full stop. Who needs it?
Well, it's one of the great events in sport. We could argue about that for a long time, Max. I won't do it right now. We'll talk to you next week. Keith, we'll see you in Melbourne next week.
See you there next week.
Good on you, mate. Well done. A break, triathlon coming up after this.
Chariot